All right, good morning, everybody. I see Patrick's in here with First Blood. We're going to be talking about Pete Hegseth's address yesterday. Y'all, there was a major problem with Hegseth's speech yesterday. Let me tell you what that problem was. I sat down at my computer last night when I got free to try and watch the speech, and the damn thing was so good that I couldn't watch it for people calling me to tell me how much they enjoyed the fucking speech. It was 11 o'clock last night before I was finally off the phone with people calling to tell me things like, wow, Lowry, have you heard Hegseth's speech yet? No, I'm trying to watch it, but people keep calling me to tell me I got to watch it. Oh, man, you got to watch it, man. It'll make you want to re-enlist. Now, I finally got a chance to watch it at about 4 o'clock this morning when everybody else was asleep, and I'm here to tell you, I sure enough would, there's a big part of me that wants to entertain the idea of re-enlisting for real. I mean, hell of a speech. We are so back, baby. Mario, how you doing this morning, brother?
Pretty good. I think looks like our superfan Mega Maga Yum Yum Time decided to drop a litany of messages here in the chat. Look, Mega Maga, we know who you are, Cheeseburger. All right, our favorite patriotic homosexual predator from down under. Hey man, just go rub one out. Mega Maga, go rub one out, okay? It's gonna be okay. All right, just settle down. It's all right. Okay. Anyway, yeah.
So, hell of a speech, and there's some backlash coming from your usual suspects. I've got some clips so we can talk about some of that as well. But first off, I want to talk about what he actually said, right? And by that I mean this was not some pep rally bullshit. This wasn't just getting up in front of the generals and rah rah, we're strong. No. This was a very carefully crafted and direct set of operational orders. This was, all right, boys, here's the policy. These are the things we're changing. And after having said that, they issued the memoranda, right? The explicit memoranda are available, at least to some of us, and I've got them here, right? Now, let's be fair. This is military memoranda written in military legalese, things like, okay, reduction of mandatory training requirements to restore mission focus, right? Subject lines like implementation of military equal opportunity and equal employment opportunity reform plan.
Let me jump in here for a moment.
Military fitness standards. So real quick, Mario, but before you jump in, so I have taken this, and it wouldn't be a great show without a little. I mean, what are we talking about this morning, Mario? We're talking about the Army and how the Army does things. And how does the Army do things? PowerPoint. That's how the Army does things. So I've got us a PowerPoint that summarizes the individual specific memoranda that were generated here.
Yeah. So what the key thing here is what Hegseth is trying to do, and he's talking about essentially to a collection of 800 senior ranking officers and senior enlisted, okay, from across the entire Department of War. All right, got to get used to saying Department of War.
Okay. Many of whom are about to be former.
Hopefully, but yeah, a lot of 3 stars, a lot of 4 stars in that room. Okay, along with their senior enlisted advisor. So the idea is to attempt. This is a grand undertaking. It's an attempt to undo what amounts to, I'll probably say since 2008. Okay, we're trying to undo nearly 20 years of rot. Okay, that has been inflicted, that the armed forces have been inflicted by liberal left-wing social experiments having been conducted on the force. Okay, the idea of using the military as essentially a testing ground for whatever new critical theory that may have come out of academia, that is hopefully coming to an end. All right. When I listened to Hegseth's speech, I couldn't help but like bring myself back to say 2008. All right, when I'm in training, basically just getting out of a training and about to enter the force at large. Okay, I wish
for the
I had
audience,
heard
Mario. For the audience, for a little perspective, Mario and I both enlisted in 2005.
2005.
Right.
Okay,
and so because we enlisted just a few years before Obama was elected, essentially we had to suffer through watching our army be degraded by communism.
I know exactly how to define this. Okay, so when Chris and I joined the Army in 2005, we joined a modern post 9/11, okay, global war on terror armor at the height, essentially at the height of its prowess, okay, and at the height of its warrior ethos based culture. Okay, that was the high watermark. Okay, that was right before the surge began in Iraq, okay, where we basically went all in and said, fuck it, we're not, rules of engagement be damned. We are going to win this. We are going to establish battlefield supremacy, okay, on the streets of Baghdad, Mosul, Basra, etc.
We both voluntarily enlisted 4 years into a 20-year conflict.
Yeah, we joined at one of the most perilous times for the United States Army in Iraq, okay? We joined at the height of that warrior culture. And what we saw is from that point forward, as we went through training and then went into the force, the slow degradation of that warrior spirit that we encountered, okay, that very masculine culture that we encountered when we first joined the military, okay, and that was pretty demoralizing to see that. By the time we got to Barack Obama's second administration, the rot was becoming critical. You couldn't avoid it. You couldn't pretend anymore that the force wasn't being hollowed out through social manipulation. All right. Like I said before, I walk into battalion 2015, walking into battalion headquarters and seeing LGBTQ like Pride Month officially sponsored by the United States Army, an image of the Pentagon with a superimposed rainbow flag over it. Okay, I'm like, really? This is and if I speak out against this, I'm fucked. I'm fucked. I will be. It was like
be destroyed.
Something happened overnight. It was like a communist insurgency. Okay, like a coup had taken place in the military, where we were warriors one day, and we woke up the next where we were basically men walking around in with chastity cages on our penises, okay, deferring to women, minorities, and homosexuals at all times, all day, okay. I couldn't understand at the time what the hell had happened, but it happened. I sensed it. I felt it. And when the Army told me I had to leave in 2017, honestly, I didn't give a fuck.
In dresses.
Like, you know what? I'm out. I'm glad.
Yeah. And I mean, you did 5 years more than I did, and it was already unbearable when I left in 2012. But like what you just mentioned about the pride flags hanging up, you addressed that directly.
No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit. No more.
And that's it. That's what we're looking for.
Right?
I constantly see people post on X. Is this what you voted for?
Yes.
Yes. 100%. Absolutely yes.
Mega Maga Yum Yum Time asks, will my friend still be able to enlist if she's trans? Okay.
No,
that's a negative. There'll be no trannies are a no. Homos are okay as long as you're not like, serial buggering people in the barracks. Okay. So
see, and I want to get into the PowerPoint. the idea of gays in the military. Look, being gay is not a medical ailment condition, right? I always maintained that the whole "don't ask, don't tell" thing was bad law. It set a bad precedent. It was just generally bad. But you know what else was bad? You know what else was really bad? Was when they repealed "don't ask, don't tell," and they pulled deployed warriors off of combat missions.
Yep.
To take a full day to stand up a combat convoy to go from a command outpost to a forward operating base where they had a larger facility, to put us in a PowerPoint presentation to explain to us why if your gay roommate finds you offensive, he can request a different roommate. He can request to have his barracks assignment reassigned. But if you have a problem with your roommate being gay, you're not comfortable with sharing your room with a gay man, then under no circumstances can you be afforded the same respect or liberty. You cannot request to be reassigned to a room with a non-gay man, right? They pulled me off a combat mission, me and my private, specialist at the time. They pulled us off combat missions where we were actively prosecuting the enemy, eliminating command level targets, and actively degrading the kinetic potential of an aggressive enemy force in Afghanistan, to tell us that we needed to be nice to the lady boys. It's like, listen, I mean, what's the problem? We have not historically had a serious problem with gays in the military. Before "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" was repealed, Mario, you remember Vizay from the language college, the Navy guy, that he was one of those that, no, honey,
about
you ain't got to tell nobody.
The mulatto with red hair.
Yes, exactly.
Where you knew he was zesty just looking at him.
Yeah, exactly. And but the thing, yeah, you knew.
Yeah,
there was no doubt in anyone's mind. And after the repeal, he made it a point to tell everybody. And everybody that he mentioned it to, that he came out to, said,
"Yes, we know."
Yeah, we got it.
We do.
we got the memo, right? And nobody gave a shit. He was a nice guy. He was smart. He was good at his job. Nobody gave a shit what he did in his spare time in the privacy of his own home, et cetera, et cetera. And, back in the mid-'90s, we talked about this a lot, and I won't beleaguer it too much, but it started off as the whole, what two consenting adults do in the privacy of their own home is their business and no one else's. And I always add the additional caveat, most especially, it is no business of the government. But that's what you do in the privacy of your own home. And that's a completely different matter than what we're talking about with the woke DEI, all that nonsense. When you're flying pride flags, Mario, I walked through the living room yesterday, and my 6-year-old was watching a cartoon on Netflix that I hadn't heard of before, right?
Oh, is that the new trans kid show with like the blue haired obese people?
No, I don't think it. No, I think that's a different one. This one's called Add a Twist, and it's the little girl's name is Ada, Ada, Ada Twist. And so it just happens that I walk through, and the episode she's watching, they're having a gay wedding. Like, and I said, nope, turn that shit off. And yeah. I don't want to have to be like that. I don't want to have to tell my kid, no, you can't ever watch this cartoon again. But you know what? Let me tell you this. If in an episode of a children's cartoon, there's a gay wedding, they're grooming your child in every single episode.
Absolutely.
There is something akin to it, and guaranteed there will be some, I was born a boy, but I feel like a girl, and that's okay That's gonna be in there somewhere. And fuck, you do not get to tell my child that. Danny
right.
asked, was it on PBS? No, it was on
Netflix.
Netflix.
That's right. Once they do the gay wedding episode for a children's show, then that's just a short stone toss from safe tucking and butt plugs. Okay, every time.
So let me get let's get into the meat and potatoes of it. I've got a few more clips I want to show you guys too, but I want to get into the meat and potatoes of it because, like I showed, there's all the memoranda, and
let's move along.
Remind me in a minute, Mario, and I'll add a link to the memoranda document to the description. But yeah, let's go ahead and dig into this. So the bottom line up front. This is a summary of all of the subject lines from the several memoranda. Excuse me. Reduction of mandatory training requirements to restore mission focus. And we're going to get into what each one of these actually means, because some of this is so in the weeds military stuff that we'll just kind of gloss over real quick. But reduction of mandatory training requirements to restore mission focus, implementation of military equal opportunity and equal employment opportunity reform plan. This is one that I've been hard on since I enlisted. Military fitness standards, another bugaboo of mine. Department of War military education and training standards, 60-day review. Review of hazing, bullying, and harassment definitions. Modern workforce management. The hazing bully, he straight up said drill sergeants will be allowed to put their hands on privates again.
And scream, and they'll scream profanity in your face, lay hands on you, and terrify you again, which is how it should be. I was scared shitless of my drill sergeant, as you should.
I cannot stress how important and valuable that is, but we'll talk about it in a little more detail here in just a minute. Modern workforce management, that's a little less interesting, but super important. IG oversight and reform, we'll get to that too. Policy memorandum revision, requirement to formally present Purple Heart medals and valor decorations. My wife was actually super excited about that rule. Adverse information policy, that's very closely related to the IG oversight and reform memorandum. And then finally, the grooming standards for facial hair implementation. And I guarantee if you haven't seen it already, you're going to see some shit on social media where basically you're going to say the grooming standards thing for facial hair implementation is just racist, because we'll get to that. We'll get to that a little bit in a minute. So the first one, reduction of mandatory training requirements to restore mission focus. Now, I went with the Cybersecurity Awareness Month icon here because cybersecurity is one that gets repeated a lot. So he says he wants to streamline mandatory training, relaxes frequency of cybersecurity, CUI, and trafficking training, removes Privacy Act training from common military training, encourages automation, and test out options. This has been a cancer on military operational tempo.
Right.
Here's what happens. This is what was happening when I was in. Every time, a couple or three times a year, you get a new private, a couple or three new privates, new specialists, whatever, you get a handful, 2-3 new soldiers in your unit. There are these mandatory annual training activities. There are several of them for several different topics, many of which are useless and or redundant. And the military standard is that everybody is supposed to complete them once per year, annually. And what happens is every time you get a couple of new privates in your unit, the battalion decides, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and renew everybody's annual training right now. And that way we can put it off for another year. Except then 3-4 months later, you get another new private or two and they say, hey, you know what, let's all do all the mandatory training again so we can put it off for another year. And so you end up doing it 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year. And this is it's absolutely useless on so many levels. One, it wastes a shitload of time. And when I say it wastes a shitload of time, what I'm talking about is there's, what were there, Mario? A dozen and a half different modules you had to complete?
Well, it's like the childhood vaccine schedule. It's always expanding. Okay. There are never fewer. Yeah, what you're looking at these stupid online training modules. Okay, imagine if you've ever worked at like Walmart or freaking Home Depot, whatever, where you go in, if they hire you, and you got to sit down and do this like a whole series of online training. Basically, click the buttons, multiple choice. Basically idiot proof, boring, garbage, and the websites are broken half the time. So you could complete the stupid training and then it didn't even register. So guess what? Now you got to do it again.
Yep. Then
you got to. Then in some units you would have to print out the individual certificate that, like the final screen of the test or whatever, would be a certificate that says your name on it, has completed whatever training, and you got to print that out. So now you got like 1,000 soldiers, like 12,000 pieces of paper were wasted, so that people could individually have their little folder with their dozen and a half stupid training certificates. Okay, it's mindlessly retarded. All right, it's like a scene out of that John Cleese movie Brazil. Okay, just nonsense paperwork flying everywhere. You go into any S3, okay, in the Army, open up like the bottom drawer that has been opened in a year, okay, and you're going to find ream after ream after ream of collections of these stupid certificates, okay. It's not enough that you have to keep them on you. That you would also have to print out a second copy of it and send it to the battalion S3, okay, so that it can be documented. It is the definition of busy work.
And then on top of that, the nature of these modules, the way they work, it's basically a PowerPoint presentation. You click through slide by slide by slide, and take a little quiz at the end, and then they generate the certificate. So, in order to comply, you have to click through the whole thing. So what's happening is your soldiers are sitting down, they're clicking through them as fast as they can. They're not reading the slides. They're not getting anything out of the training. The training itself is a complete waste of time and resources. It's absolute trash. And then to make matters worse, about half of these training modules are things like sexual harassment prevention and equal opportunity awareness and stuff like that, where the main thrust of the training is always and without exception, if you see white people in uniform, they hate you and they seek to rape and murder you.
Oh God! And yeah, it would give the DoD fair license to make propaganda, essentially. For combating sexual assault, sexual harassment, whatever. The villain was almost always white. Okay, in the videos. All right, it never failed. In fact, we would even joke about it. Like if it was a brand new one and we're all watching it for the first time, and we get to the scene where where it reveals like basically the heel, okay, like the bad guy of the training. It would always pop up a white guy and everyone's like, yay, we did it. We just openly mock it, okay? I see fees in the chat here, 12 mandatory annual trainings. Fee, you got to let me know, okay? I'm still bothered to this day, even though I've been out for almost 10 years, okay? In the countering human trafficking training, do we ever get to save that poor girl who got trafficked and is being used as a prostitute in that Russian mafia nightclub? Do we ever get to save her, Fee? It's not fair. I wanted to save her. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, this is huge. The reduction of mandatory training requirements to restore mission focus. Yeah. There you go, Mario. She answered. No, you never get to save the little trafficked girl. So yeah, these huge, you only get to report it.
Gay.
You know what? I'm going to try not to get messy about this, but I'm going to tell you guys something that's painfully true. That is in fact the nature of human trafficking actual human trafficking investigations. More often than not, you get to report that there was a victim, and that's the end of it because of the global, international, and sophisticated nature of human trafficking operations. Your kidnapped daughter might be a sex slave in the home next door to you, but she went through Mexico, Russia, China, Thailand, etc. before she got back there, and nobody's going to open up that particular connex on your behalf. You catch somebody who is even credibly suspected of actively human trafficking, and I will help you hide that body. Moving on before I get too deep in my cup over that, because that's moving on. Okay, implementation of military equal opportunity and equal employment opportunity reform plan. Reforms complaint process to require credible evidence, dismiss frivolous cases, and expedite timelines, centralizes EEO functions, standardizes MEO procedures, and holds false claim complainants accountable. This right here.
You wouldn't believe how much time. You wouldn't believe how much time commands, okay, and NCO support channels have to spend in the military dealing with barracks rapes, okay? And by barracks rapes, I mean basically a bunch of privates and specialists got wasted, had a barracks party. Somebody woke up the next morning, didn't remember what happened, but they can tell that they had sex. And then they get on Facebook or social media and post about it. And suddenly you've got a fucking rape investigation in the barracks, okay? Just for stupid high school, college tier behavior. It is terrifyingly... It literally ruined people's careers are ruined. Okay. Later on in the program, we're going to talk about how the having these stains on your record. Okay, which literally fall like basically PV2 Snuffy had questionable sex with some girl in the barracks. Okay, 15 years later, it's still on his record, and he's still being basically harassed about it, like that type of shit.
And that's assuming that he stayed in the military.
He didn't get put out. Correct. Yeah.
Right. And in our field, where we carried TS clearances and had positions of national trust, that this was especially egregious. And I saw it over and over again. Not only what Mario was talking about, just a bunch of privates at a drunken frickin' barracks orgy, which is something that needs to be quashed anyway.
Segregate the barracks, exactly.
But this has also been weaponized. It's been weaponized by let's be blunt about it, spiteful women who have seen a way to weaponize their sex.
Yep.
To cause harm to essentially professional rivals. But there was one case in particular that Mario, and you should remember this.
Everyone who's been in the military has this story. Everyone.
Well, there was one in particular, and this one happened right before I met my wife. There was this chick, and I wouldn't say her name on air even if I could remember it. And but you remember this one, Mario. She was a barracks bunny. She was always going to the frickin' hotel parties, the orgies. Mario and I were good boys. We would go and drink at the pub and then go play magic cards. We didn't do hotel parties.
That's right. I was a good little incel. Okay, I didn't put my filthy privates in filthy places. Okay.
I didn't put my filthy privates in other filthy privates. Exactly. But this one in particular, and she would chat me up at the smoke pit, and I was like, "No, honey, I don't do hotel parties. I don't do that stuff." She cried rape after going to a hotel party on, I believe it was 9 separate occasions. And on claim number 8, on claim number 9, we had just had a change of command, rather. And Colonel Suh took over as the post commandant. And you remember him, right, Mario? Colonel Sun?
Yeah, Korean dude. Yep.
he was a 0.5 generation Korean, which means he was born to Korean parents. Both his parents were Korean. His mother was a Korean citizen. His father was born in Korea, moved to America, immigrated, citizen, joined the military, was stationed in Korea, married a Korean woman. So, and the only reason that's relevant is because we were Korean linguists. Son grew up until he was about 5 or 6 years old in Korea, and then grew up the rest of his life in Texas. So he would speak Korean with the accent of Hank Hill, and it was one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. Anyway, he took over right before she made rape claim number 9, and he was the one that said, "Hold on a minute. There appears to be a common denominator in this particular equation of love. I have a near Pythagorean theorem on this. Bitch, you're the problem." And he saved that last soldier from her and put her out. Now, because this happened in our company, I happen to know that she was discharged other than honorably, not dishonorably. But the 8 guys that came before Colonel Sun took over, they were discharged with dishonorable discharges after having been clearly falsely accused of rape, at least the majority of them, given the circumstances and the evidence that we know now. And something that civilians don't tend to understand, because in fairness, why would you? A dishonorable discharge is akin to a felony conviction.
Yep. They were put out on the street in California. Okay. Probably the majority of, so half of them probably committed suicide. The other half are currently in Portland, basically participating in Black Bloc. They had no choice but to go full Antifa. Okay. They're lost. Lives destroyed. Yep. Because of rape bait.
All because they all took the same rape bait. And that has to change. Oh, and there's, we're gonna, what? Oh, let me go ahead and do you remember that chick, Mario?
No, I don't remember what she looks like, man. I didn't even pay attention to that shit.
She was a pretty stock, skinny little blonde.
People didn't like me. You forget that.
Oh, damn! I thought I had a pull quote for this one. I've got a bunch of pull quotes here. I don't. I know I saw one, but I don't have it ready.
Hey, I have a hard out at 8:30. So if you want to progress, maybe
all right, and if it push comes to shove, you can just dip, and I'll finish up. Yep. But I'm seeing criticism of that. The criticism that the left is putting out already on this particular memorandum is they're saying that Hegseth is trying to make it easier to commit rape in the army, in the military. That is not correct. And it may be that while trying to balance this out, there are some other things that slip through the cracks. But here's the reality. The current system doesn't work. The current system empowers spiteful men and women, right, to weaponize their gender and their sex to cause harm to people without cause. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as a legitimate rape claim, but like I said, that in the example that I just cited, this chick turned 8 men into felons by lying about it. And the only consequence she suffered is she was discharged.
Yep.
And by the time she was discharged, she went through a couple of shrinks and everything, was discharged, 100% permanent and total disability for nothing more than the emotional stress of leaving the military. 100% psych eval disability. She's going to get paid. She's going to get paid for the rest of her life at the same standard that I get paid for having my eardrums perforated by multiple IEDs, my back broken by hard foot marches with 200 pounds of rucksack on, and my knees destroyed by running with, half a man on my shoulder. And all she had to do to get free flights for life was destroy American soldiers with her filthy little lies.
Yep.
Okay, we need to move on before I get...
You got to understand, guy. Chris can't do this show, okay? Because if we're talking about the Army, there's a million anecdotes that are going through his mind, okay? So just be patient. Be patient. He has autism, okay?
So,
military fitness standards establishes high sex-neutral fitness standards, requires 2 annual tests, active duty, 1 for reserves, combat field readiness test, body composition, waist measurements, hold leaders accountable. Okay, so
this is one of my favorite pictures.
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite pictures ever.
That's Chris in the background, right, and the guy in the room there. All right. But yeah, you look at these guys are fit. This is what your military is supposed to look like. Okay. Now, as for the basically height and weight standards, yeah, that's been a source of. I mean, that's a major source of contention probably for Chris his entire time in the military. Okay, because Chris is a soldier who doesn't fit in the soldier size hole. Okay.
Yeah, I was 50 pounds. I was 50
peg.
pounds overweight by the basic height weight standard for my entire military career.
That's right. He's kind of the odd one out, unfortunately. Okay.
But I was 50 pounds overweight at 8% body fat.
Correct. Yeah, he's just a big boy. Okay. I had a similar issue as well. All right. Just because I'm a stout. I'm stout and hearty. Okay. So I would have to get taped all the time just because by muscle density, okay, bone density was just extraordinary. At like 190 pounds, I look like a skeleton. You have to understand. So I rarely ever made weight. Okay, I would always have to get taped. So
yeah, we can't all be NIDA.
Yep, that's right. So yeah. Anyway, but the standard. But the problem is, there's not the equal enforcement of standards is the issue. Okay, you would routinely see in the military when I was in. Clearly overweight women, okay, that somehow would manage to make tape because they had their own little, especially amongst the black women, they had their own little understanding amongst each other that they would like not report each other as overweight or fudge the tape and stuff like that. Then you got the issues with people of certain ethnic backgrounds just have a different like kind of body composition, like Polynesians, for example. You'd see a Hawaiian soldier, Polynesian soldier, Samoan soldier, whatever. Okay, who's clearly morbidly obese, but because he doesn't have a neck, it's like a mountain. It's just a mountain range. Okay, in between his shoulders up to a head. He would pass tape every time because his neck was so fat. It was stupefying. And then you would be like a soldier like me, where by all means, I look like I'm relative. I mean, I look like I'm in shape for a man in his early 30s, but I would barely pass tape just because of my body shape. You know what I mean? It was very frustrating. The entire time I was in the Army.
Yeah, and and baby, I'm sorry, but I've got to say this: the new standard is going to be the male standard. And Hegseth said explicitly when he talked about this in his speech, if a woman can make the standards, that's great, awesome, but it will be the male standard. It will be gender neutral. It will be the standard that we expect of a man. And
he means that for combat arms. Is what he means. It's for combat arms. No. It's for combat arms. Okay, it's for combat positions. So infantry, cavalry, tanker, etc. Okay,
that is not correct.
It is correct. You didn't watch the speech.
I did watch the speech, and I have the memorandum here. Let me clarify for you. you're close, but you're a little off. So there is a service fitness test. This is for all personnel, right? Combat arms personnel and non-combat arms personnel. So it's sex neutral, age normed, right? For combat arms. It's sex normed and age normed for
non-combat arms. That's what I said.
Oh, I see. I see. So there will still be a double standard.
That's right.
So if you're non-combat arms, you will still have a lower standard as a woman.
Yes. The idea is that we're not no more women in infantry. Okay, no more women in the Rangers, etc. For your 42 alphas. Okay, yeah, life will go on.
Yeah. So basically, there's this combat readiness test that's different for non-combat arms personnel. The service fitness test is for combat arms and non-combat arms. So everybody's going to have to take something akin to the basic Army PFT that you and I were used to, where you have to, run 2 miles, do 50 push-ups and 60 sit-ups or whatever it was. That changes by age range, et cetera. I think at the oldest I was in the Army when I left, I think I had 17 and a half, maybe 18 minutes to do the 2 mile run. My 2 mile run was generally around 15 minutes, which is not the fastest run, but I could do it in boots and utes with a freaking rifle and body armor on too. So, but yeah, when women first entered military service, it was the old feminist argument that, men and women are interchangeable. A woman can do anything a man can do as well as a man can do it. Women are just as strong, just as fast, just as everything, and equal pay for equal work. The fact of the matter is this: a female soldier cannot do what a male soldier is required to do, and we are paid the same to do that. It is not equal pay for equal work. It is equal pay with a double standard. That's not just unfair. It is a hazard to the effectiveness of our military. It is a threat to the life of every combat operator who has ever put a bullet in the enemy or ever will. Sergeant Major says we must have a standard for medical, etc. Oh, I would say yes, but I would say yes, but, and in that but, there's a whole world of medical personnel who never deploy to combat and need to be sufficiently physically fit to operate things like, Tripler Army Medical Center, where you are providing health care to uniformed service members in garrison, right? And but if you're going to be deployed in an active combat zone, you need to be at the bare minimum. At a bare minimum, you need to be at the minimum standard of physical fitness for a combat operator.
Yep.
Sergeant Major says we have jobs where women are excellent. Absolutely we do. And none of them involve putting a bullet in a bad guy.
Yeah, it's combat arms. Okay.
Yeah, combat arms is a whole different creature. And we're going to lose Mario in 16 minutes. Department of War Military Education and Training Standards 60-day review. This one is a little more nebulous for the purposes of the topic this morning.
Safety stand down.
Yeah.
It's basically it's this different service academies. Okay, the service academies, which were like kids out of high school go to military officer training. Okay, Naval Academy, West Point, etc. Okay, MEI military school. So NCO schools. All right, that you have to go through at different stages in your career in the Army. All right. So it's basically a review of that. What they're going to, I guarantee what they're going to be doing to the greater degree here is going through the books and just purging all the woke shit out of it. Okay, so the forcible elimination and yeah,
His
I mean
Majesty says
they can
close
give,
all the academies, and I don't
yes,
disagree.
he is well, Sergeant Major is a TRADOC extremist. Okay, so but no. So the reason they're pointing this out specifically now, normally they're going to be giving general, just general guidance to commanders, okay, to do this within their individual units, but they're going to make it basically the Army's direct focus, okay, to ensure that this is done in the military academies, okay, and in the NCO's training, because that's where if you can get it out of there, then it ceases to exist, okay, and there'll be a new generation of officers coming up, okay, who will not have been indoctrinated with this shit. That's why the Department of War is taking direct action in regards to the service academies. So Sergeant Major should support that.
Yep.
That's what that means. Next slide, please.
Yeah, Sergeant Major, I need to get you to send me a list of the FMs and ARs that your name is directly on for reference in the future. Because we do in fact have watching this show right now, like the original guru of Army training and doctrine. And when I say that, I mean, a few years ago, the Army was having its worst the U.S. military, all branches were having the worst slump in recruiting in history. They were down like 30% across the board on meeting mission, and they called Dad and said, "Hey, Sergeant Major, how do we get people interested in putting bullets in bad guys?" And he went and told him. He says, "I've been retired so long they've been rewritten." Yeah, well, Dad,
that's the thing.
Looks like Pete's about to dust off your old transcripts.
The two key maxims that Pete Hegseth has talked about, okay, is 1990 and the E603 test. Okay, 1990 means going back to when was the last time we definitively won a war, the United States military? It was 1990. It was the Gulf War, okay, where we went in with a multinational force, kicked the absolute shit out of Saddam Hussein, and then here's the key point. Here's the key thing: left. That's the key thing. That was a decisive victory. All right. So the question is, Hegseth is saying
we went in with a clear mission.
Yeah.
And we prosecuted a war.
That's right. So let's look at the standards that we had in 1990, and if it's changed, ask ourselves why, and we'll change it back if we need to. Okay, and then the 03 E6 test, which is basically kind of like middle management for NCOs and officers. All right, what are we doing that is making their job needlessly harder? Okay, let's get rid of that shit. Like, have you completed you didn't complete your online training modules, and now I'm getting bitched at by the first sergeant, like shit like that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Okay. Review of hazing, bullying, and harassment definitions. 30-day review of definitions to eliminate overly broad policies that hinder mission focus. Goal, balance, discipline with readiness. Okay. You are going to be told, in fact, I think they said it on The View already, that Pete Hegseth is trying to put bullying and hazing and back into the Army, back into the military, and that this is a bad thing. Let me be clear. Pete Hegseth is absolutely trying to put hazing and bullying back into the military, and that's a good thing. Here's the problem. We have in the military now these rules against bullying and hazing that were introduced with at least theoretically good intention to prevent soldiers from abusing each other, especially leadership from physically abusing their subordinates, right?
It was meant to prevent
There's a big
to prevent the opening scene of A Few Good Men. Okay, that's
Right.
That's what the regulations were put in for.
And there's Fee. She says someone telling you to stop whining and do your job is not hazing. Correct. Now, this has been a major thorn in the side of leadership in the military. It started right before we enlisted. We were just starting to hear kind of the whispers of it when Mario and I went through basic training. They would absolutely get in your face. Our drill sergeants, or at least Mario and I went through basic. Mario went through right after I did. And by right after I did, I mean, I think I started at the
1 month.
Yeah. Basically, we were in basically at the same time. He started a month later than I did.
For 2 months of it, we were both in. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, my drill sergeants were somewhat hesitant to put hands on you, but not entirely hands off. And that was a valuable asset to them in the unit that I was in. But bizarrely, and you went to Leonard Wood too, right, Mario?
Yes.
Look, it's a bizarre basic, because you've got everybody in the unit I went through was going through to be either a firefighter or a carpenter, with the exception of 3 of us that were there to go into intelligence operations.
Yep.
So
mine was mostly 88 mics.
Oh yeah, and that's right, 88 mics, firefighters, 88, truck drivers and carpenters, right? Yep. And like when I enlisted, I had just come off of 5 years of building paper mills and oil refineries as an industrial electrician. I was up at 3 or 4 o'clock every morning, going to work, working fucking hard, right? I was absolutely
surrounded by roughnecks. Okay,
right. So the guys that were there, the guys that were there that were the kind of guys that wanted to be firefighters, truck drivers, and carpenters. These were my people, but I was there to go a different route. And the other two that were there, who were going on to the language college with me, who had the scores for the intelligence operations, they were very much a couple of young, like, I think they were both fresh out of 2-year, basically they went to community college, got their requirements knocked out, smart, high scoring kids that were going on to the most competitive academic institution in the world. They had a rough ride. but the hazing thing, for a long time now, basically the anti-bullying bullshit has been a weapon that has been handed to lower enlisted so that they can basically subvert the authority of their leadership by claiming that any kind of physical correction, and when I say physical correction, I'm saying, just a sergeant telling his private, hey, you're late to formation, do push-ups, right? But at the same time, there are levels of abuse. Like Mario, you remember our buddy Witt?
Yep.
That's what the hazing policies are supposed to prevent.
Correct. Basically, psychopath. It's supposed to prevent psychopaths, okay?
Right.
From basically destroying Army property. So that may have been your basic experience. Mine was a little different. Okay. I remember him to this day. It was Drill Sergeant Dysinger. Okay. He had he looked like Duke Nukem. Okay. And He had just got back from like his second tour in Afghanistan. Okay, he's PTSD'd. He's pissed off. He did not want to be in TRADOC. Okay, he wanted to be back in the 82nd, where he could be, airborne ranger. Where did you go? That's he didn't want to be in TRADOC. Okay, so he took out his anger on us. So I was told that I was basically no better than livestock and that I would be treated accordingly. He told me that I'm going to die in Iraq, and the only tragedy of it would be that better men than me would also die trying to save me. I'm like, God damn, that's fucking demoralizing, Sergeant. Sergeant.
That's pretty staggering.
Did I make a mistake? Yeah, he was absolutely brutal. Okay, but I remember this day. I in retrospect, I like the guy. I liked his style. If I was a drill sergeant, I would want to be basically put on a mask and be an unhinged psycho. Okay, in front of the troops, right? and then at the moment when I can tell that I've actually broken them through trauma, which is my preferred method of training, then it's nice Mario. Then it's Daddy Mario comes out, okay, and he supports you and gives you emotional support, and then you're okay. See, I broke you, then I fixed you. Now you're better. But anyway,
yeah, I got the shit beat out of me a couple times for screwing up. But another thing that my drill sergeants were especially fond of was feeding privates to me in the pugil pit. That was a great week.
Yep.
I had a knee injury, so I couldn't move around very much. So I would just stand in the middle of the pit with the stick in my hand, and they would be expected to attack, and it never worked out for them. But yeah, so the hazing thing, it is a big deal, because
I could have taken you with a halberd.
You forget, Mario, I also have experience in that kind of combat.
Yeah, you're fucking LARPer. Okay, moving on.
Modern workforce management. This is mostly about retention. It's a little in the weeds, so we don't need to go into it very deeply. But he did talk about how we lose soldiers and civilians to higher paying private industry because we're not taking good care of them in many cases. And that is a real problem. Retention is difficult. I mean, the Army is the military. It's a hard job. It's a hard job. And if, it's a hard job, and it doesn't pay especially well if you're just looking at the straight money. Now, it actually pays quite well once you understand the benefits, and all that stuff. But even if you calculate all the benefits, your housing allowance, your medical, everything, the fact of the matter is the private sector can throw twice that much just cash at you, and that's hard to ignore sometimes.
Yep. So people with high human capital, okay, are harder to keep in the Army, okay, because they don't want to deal with the senseless bullshit, with the senseless make work, okay, that is a large part of garrison life in the United States Army, okay.
Yes.
So, and they don't have to be there because they can compete out in the civilian workforce. So they generally get out and they take their benefits with them. Basically it was a level up in pursuit of a career, and they leave, okay. Whereas people who are basically low human capital, your type B recruits, okay, more often than not will stay in the Army because it pays better than what they are capable of doing on the outside, okay. That's a problem situation there. That's the problem dialectic. And you have to find a way to retain key personnel who are high capital and who can essentially do the job above and beyond. All right, so that's the idea, to retain these people and to get rid of, basically, as Hegseth puts it, the debris.
Yes, I like that. IG oversight reform. This one is way deep in the weeds. 7-day credibility assessment. No credible complaints. Non-credible complaints close quickly. AI assisted triage encouraged. I'm a little leery of that, but yeah.
It's better than what exists now.
Felicia says release the Mario. It is 8:30, Mario. So let me skip ahead a few. Grooming standards for facial hair implementation. Can
I say something to Mega Maga before I leave?
Yes, please.
I don't have a job for you, okay? However, Cammy Cam has taken on more work than he can handle by himself. Okay, Cammy Cam needs some help. All right, so
so
talk to Chris about your we'll get you a visa, okay? And I'm gonna send you after Cam. You're gonna hunt him. Wait, I've said too much. Okay,
before you run away, Mario. This one right here, grooming standards for facial hair implementation. Hegseth is going to be called a racist over this one.
So what?
Oh, so yeah, what? I agree. So what? It a lot of black service members have a profile that prevents them from shaving. A lot of them claim to be unable to maintain the exacting grooming standards.
Here's the thing: if it is a real waiver, if it's a real medical waiver, then it will still be respected. Okay,
correct.
If it's not, then it won't. Okay,
that's the thing, is a lot of them are not.
If you're a black soldier who happens to be 102% African, okay, whose hair is simply so kinky that the moment a razor goes across it, he suddenly gets 30-something ingrown hairs in his face. All right, yes, we understand that. There will be an exception made for you, okay? But if you're just some guy who wants a beard, get the fuck out of here. Like, no. Now, I would make one exception here. I think Navy chiefs should be allowed to have beards. That's just a cultural thing, okay? That's all.
And eye patches.
And eye patches. And peg legs and hook hands. Okay. And pipes.
That's actually the end of the presentation. That's the end of the PowerPoint. And the rest of it is the rest of it's a little more esoteric. I do want to say the formal requirement to formally present Purple Heart medals and valor decorations. Several of the awards that I got from Afghanistan, there was no award ceremony or anything. They just kind of stuck them in my inbox, right? And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever.
Did they do a ceremony for cab?
Nope.
Really? That's odd.
Nope. No ceremony for my cab, for my ARCOM. None of that. In fact, the closest thing I ever had to an award ceremony is when I got my good conduct ribbon. It was presented to me in front of the same audience just because I happened to get my good conduct ribbon and my first service stripe. That's 3 years when I graduated at Goodfellow Air Force Base.
Yep.
And that one, just because nobody spends you're not supposed to spend 3 years in TRADOC.
Yep.
Yeah, getting your good conduct ribbon and your service stripe in TRADOC is almost, not quite, but almost unheard of.
Megabog is trying to send me on a tangent right now. I'm trying to resist. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
so. Okay, Mario, I know you got a heart out.
Yeah.
I'm going to abuse you a little bit and hold on to you for just a minute. I want to show.
I can just click this red button right here and leave.
You
can't stop me. So.
Okay. I want to do this one clip.
Okay, fine. I'll take Megamaga's bait. Greta is almost in Gaza. It would be the funniest thing in the world if the Israeli government collapsed because they had the audacity to bomb some retarded kid from Sweden. That shit would be hilarious.
All right, here we go.
I'm actually really befuddled by why he did that. The optics were terrible, meaning all of our top military brass are all in one place,
bitch?
and we spent $6 million to get them there. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. It also didn't make a lot of sense to me that he was saying that he was going to toughen physical standards and review the anti-hazing policy by sort of implementing a hazing policy. And then also he said he was going to
okay, so we just addressed that. Like I said, she just said he's implementing a hazing policy. He's adding bullying. Yes, he is. Because sometimes you got a nasty private that won't take a shower. And maybe the scrub brush is the right answer. Because soldiers need to learn things. But 8 hours under the log and ruining your fucking body for the rest of your life is not acceptable.
Unverified.
There is a line.
Yep.
There are lines.
Turn to the highest male standard for combat positions because the troops were fat.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that was supposed to be an uplifting message for our military.
Maybe he's referring.
It's not supposed to be an uplifting message, you nattering shitwit.
How many years of combined military service are on the panel of the View? 0.
Correct. Zero.
0. You don't know what you're talking about. Be quiet. Okay.
Yeah. We are the army. We kill people and break shit and burn down the cities of the enemy.
Yep.
I've seen me do it.
Right. So.
Right.
First of all,
it's not about being uplifting. It's about being
effective.
Empowered.
It's about being effective. Okay. So unverified is noticing in the chat. Okay.
And Fee says it uplifts my spirits. Yeah. That's right. My hot young wife is buoyed in her heart and spirit by the idea of the rough men who stand ready to do violence on our behalf, actually being rough men who in fact stand ready to do that violence.
Yeah. Yes, Fee is a normal heterosexual woman. Correct. Okay. So wanted to leave you with one thing. Want to mention, she talked about spending like $6 million bringing everyone there, right? And how that was a waste of money. And then I saw some reports yesterday of a couple poo naysayer generals who were in attendance were like, well, I think an email would have sufficed. No. See, you're part of the fucking problem. You're part of the fucking problem. The reason you were all brought there, all 800 of you, all in your basically with your massive inflated stack of Skittles on your chest, okay, and all your stars and all your stripes. It's because this is it's an all call, okay. Yeah, so this is an all call. Nice.
Sorry, cheeseburger.
Yeah, apparently I'm claimed. So yeah, so the reason they were all brought there, it's like a safety stand down, or it's a commander's all call. Okay, this is what commanders do. Okay, especially like at the garrison level, right? When like shit went down on base, that's completely fucking unacceptable, and the command is asking themselves, it wasn't just one thing that led to this event, it was a series of negligence and disasters that led to this arch disaster. Okay, and we need answers. So you bring everybody in, okay, regardless of rank, and basically lecture everybody. Okay, so that it's not just you're sitting there in the audience looking at the person who's lecturing you. You're looking to your left and right at your battle buddies. Okay, and that's exactly what we're talking. This is a room full of generals and admirals. Okay, they are there with their peers. This has a powerful psychological effect on them. You are there. Normally, they're the highest ranking guy in the room, and they're in a room and they're looking around, and it's basically all other 3- and 4-star generals. Okay, and senior and the highest senior enlisted. All right, that has powerful psychological effect. You were brought here. I brought you here. Correct. I summoned you. Okay, that's what that says. That means pay attention, take note. We're not fucking around.
And
right.
and
with that,
to drive that home, this is very much a formal meeting with the upper brass. One of the criticisms that we're hearing, and feel free to drop, Mario. But I think you want to say something about that. You might want to say
No,
something.
I have to go. But that's actually
Okay.
it. I'm out.
Deuces.
Ciao.
I'll button it up with this, and we'll see you tomorrow, Mario. So one of the things that's being criticized, and this is just one of those petty, obnoxious little bullshit things. He can't. There were no applause. The audience was dead silent. They didn't want to be there. They don't respect him. They didn't applaud for him. Clearly, you have never been called to attention. Listen, you hear it? There's somebody in there whose job it is to call the entire unit to attention, the entire assembly to attention. And you stand up at attention. That noise you hear are feet hitting the ground as men stand to attention.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The salute.
Please take your seats.
Please be seated. And then he begins, right? I love the General Patton iconography here, by the way. That's a stroke of genius. Brilliant. But that whole you hear that whole thing about you're going to see it more on social media today, and there's going to be headlines, the room was silent, and they're going to try to spin that to look like these men didn't respect him, they weren't excited to see him, they weren't happy to see him, et cetera, et cetera. That is something that especially liberals, but generally civilians, might be swayed by. And it's absolutely wrong. Right? And just because the wife and I were talking about it last night, I'm going to leave you guys. I'm going to pull up a clip and see. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Yeah. I'm gonna share this clip with you guys. This is a civilian, just a complete total civilian, dealing with military honors, not knowing what he's getting into. It's a famous clip. I'm sure many of you will recognize it. It's one of my favorite moments in history.
But I come here for you because I believe you're a man.
Actually, real quick, what year was this? Okay, this was 07. I met Robin Williams in Afghanistan around Christmas time, 2010, on a different USO tour. But so this was a few years before I was there.
For you because I believe you're a man. It's good to be in a room with Big Bear, having just gone out of rehab. That's a good choice. Because I was violating my standards quicker than I could lower them. But, uh-oh. I'm not going to forget that. I've never had an entire audience just go, forget you! You have no idea! I was also wondering what's coming from that way. That an entire group of military people turned that fucking way. That's not, I know what that was going. Can someone tell me what that was? Reveille! Retreat! It wasn't retreat, was it? The flag was going down. The flag was going down. Okay. But you don't have to retreat. I imagine that's not really in the orders at this moment. Back up the shit! We gotta go! Get me! Obviously you're going, not a bad idea. You gotta finish here first, but we'll go. So the flag's coming down. Okay, good, because that's pretty weird in the middle of your act to have everyone just go, that's just like, wow! It's like in the middle of sex to go, bye-bye. It's been fun. I would like to, no. My underwear has to go back on. Wow, thank you. Right by the basketball court, too.
So for those of you who haven't served, play the bugle 3 times a day, right? And so the close of business, that's what that is. That's what that one was. Close of business, play reveille and retreat, lower the flag. So the flag goes up in the morning, it comes down at the end of business, and we play taps at 10 o'clock. And I still get misty when I hear taps, especially. But the way, he didn't know what was happening. This was, early in this USO tour, and I guess it was the first one he was doing there, or the first time he was doing a show when they played Reveille and Retreat, and nobody thought to say, hey, somebody needs to tell Robin that everybody's going to turn around on him. But that's one of my favorite clips ever, and that's 2007. That's right before Obama got in, and the entire military began to rot as a result of bad DEI policy, bad rules of engagement, bad leadership, and the internal intentional promotion of DEI hires to positions of senior leadership in the U.S. military. This is right before all that went down. And Hegseth's speech yesterday, the memoranda that he distributed to America's top commanding brass, and the revitalization of military standards, that's all to the good. That is how you make America great again. You make Army grunts again. I love it. So I hope, if you guys haven't already watched it, I highly recommend it, actually. It's a 45-minute speech, Hegseth's speech from yesterday. It's a 45-minute speech, and it does not feel like 45 minutes. The speech is engaging. It's interesting. He's got a couple of cute little jokes that kind of move it along a little bit, but largely it's very professional, very military, and very much focused on what makes our troops strong, safe, and effective, right? Safe as you can be. It is war that we do. But great speech. Take the time to go watch it. And apart from that, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching today. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.